It's Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. Finding inspiration today was a little bit harder. I had a lot of dreams last night, a lot of really vivid dreams that left me a little haunted. Memories of back home, but the landscape was different than what it consciously remembered being. Things had been warped and changed in layers, and there was more development and weirder people and zero gravity and things like that. So, woke up late. We're kind of recovering from that mental turmoil that was in my mind last night. So I went to YouTube, went to Facebook, saw what people are posting about today, read the news, watched Cuomo's speech, and a former coworker, Nathan, posted this YouTube video that ended up being fascinating about a train hopper, I should say, that rode from Kiev to Odessa, and he documented his whole process. And this was a clip that stood out to me. I think Cyrillic is really interesting looking as a language. I don't know how to read it. I don't know anything about it. I think there's something about that misunderstanding of it. Like it looks like dream words to me. It's just random. Some things that are familiar and some things that are weird and different, like backwards ends and stuff, and larger lowercase letters. It seems fantastical. So this still from that video I pulled. I think the video is called "Illegal Freedom: Train Surfing Journey to the Black Sea." Now, I'm usually a pretty law and order guy, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And suddenly, in this time where no one is allowed to go out, supposedly, I mean, we can all go and drive to Chick-fil-A and get yourself a sandwich. If you're not supposed to, society's telling you don't do this thing. This is a guy who's definitely doing the opposite of that. Like I'm gonna go ride trains illegally and hop between freight cars and passenger cars and bribe a Russian conductor to stand between the trains because it's cheaper than buying a ticket. So I'm gonna do a little homage to him today. Draw him, and I think maybe I'll tell a story about the last time I met a fellow who look just like this. So let's get started first. I'll quickly start with our slate gray, a little warmer today. This is like a sunset kind of scene, I think, or maybe early sunrise, diffused clouds. So I started a little bit warmer of a background palette, a little yellower. You actually can make it a little bit redder just to kind of match that brownish of the background in this scene here. And we'll quickly glaze over with some color just to give us a little bit of a footing. Pale blue, it's a cloudy day, and we're just going to draw this right over next to the reference picture we have from behind just to get us started. Pretty consistent warm brown for the tree line back there. And this is just to get started with the background, and then a little bit brighter and more saturated as that train line comes through. So you have the purple blue type rail. That's too saturated, but we can always paint over it. Let's go a little darker, a little less saturated. Is darker right? Maybe grayer is more correct. I'm gonna punch the colors up just a little bit. So this is just something to get us started. A little bit more greenish or more yellowish for some grass that's over here. It's kind of fun. Try to narrate as I go along what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do. And this will just kind of set up the background of this image for what we want to draw. So that's just kind of our general color theming and lighting and stuff. And now we'll go to line work kind of on top of this. So we just wrap up a little bit of that there, a little bit of darker green form that business here. And make sure this is running. Looks like it's running. Cool. 4 minutes in, 5 minutes in. Seems to be working all right. Cool. We'll leave that there. Good. New layer. Let's kind of mass out composition for what we want to do. And I have a horizontal frame, but the character is vertical in the middle, so I might crop it down just a little bit and rearrange a few things to make it all fit. So let's mass this fellow in right in the middle. kind of triangular, almost kind of bullet shaped, right? He's very efficient, fast, stealthy. What are some other acronyms, or sorry, not acronyms, adverbs? I don't know. What are those words? Descriptors that we would use to describe this character. He has the black on black on black. He's got the face guard. He's holding, I didn't understand people's fascinations with the selfie stick, but watching how he uses a selfie stick to record himself, he's getting a really good composition with low effort. And suddenly it makes sense. When you're doing long form documentaries, I just haven't seen a lot of these before. Maybe you all know this who have seen this. If I'm taking video of myself using my phone, I'm extending my arm out in front of me at quite a distance, and this is going to be taxing my musculature over time. Now, I'm in a house right now. I have plenty of food, plenty of water, plenty of comfort. It's warm. I'm not stressing my body out at all. But this fellow who's jumping trains for a week at a time has to be thinking about energy conservation. And it's probably less energy to carry a selfie stick with him and film while keeping his elbow at the hip and extending, so he's getting a good composition without a whole lot of effort, and you can easily walk, and it's doubling as a stabilizer too. If you're moving and you have your heavy arm that's out in front of you, that camera's going to be bobbling up and down. Selfie stick from the middle might have less jump to it. Just a thought, possibly. And again, these stabilizers and GoPros now are so incredible. That digital stabilizer is amazing. So he's mid-stride, so that gives us a little bit of differentiation between his arms. Looks like, if I was to guess, his right leg would be forward, and his left leg would it's kind of the middle of a step, like his left arm would be in the process of swinging backwards. So it's a little bit darker and shadier there. And if we really look closely at this image, we're seeing some really nice subtleties and color variation, even though at first glance the jacket's just a black jacket. But the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm seeing there's a cool side and a warm side. And we'll try to get that in painting today, and maybe we'll learn a little bit about those colors and how they work. So we have those, and since I want this to be more of a vertical picture, maybe I'll take some of the things that are in the background and then move them a little bit closer, just so we have them. So we have one kind of specific type of power line holder. Specificity gives a sense of place, unique place. If it's generic, it could be anywhere, but specificity means it's somewhere unique, somewhere specific. And that's probably going to go a little higher up, like there. Shrink it down just a bit to match. Cool, that's good. We have our tree line. Another one of those things back there. It's cool. And there's some kind of water tower thing behind the tree line, and then there's like a couple people walking back in the background. Just draw those in really loose, and then kind of we're going to crop in the platform a little bit. So I mean, this piece is only a little bit about being at a train station, more about this individual. So I'm not going to spend that much time on the background, just enough to give it a sense of place. I want to spend a little bit more time on this sign. I think this sign is wicked cool. What's up, Drew? Thanks for chopping in. You were my most consistent watcher. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. I think this Cyrillic thing. Drew, for you just joining, this video I got the still from is Illegal Freedom, Train Surfing Journey to the Black Sea. He has one about Chernobyl too. The streamer's name, I probably should mention that now that I think about it. Let's see if I can find it in my history. Recently closed Illegal Freedom. There's this clip here. Shiey, Shiey, 1 million subs. He's doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and he's commenting. I like his storytelling. He's talking about experiencing the cold, the hunger, being tired, and how that transitions from the beginning of the video of being optimistic and thinking he can get through this in a couple days, walking around Kiev and how beautiful it is. It's pretty neat video actually. And then getting on board some cargo trains and cruising around. I'm playing this at slow-mo, 50%. That way it's easier for me to grab stills from it. I can watch and grab stills. Pretty cool stuff. Crawling around at night. It's kind of Blair Witch Project-y, but better, I think. There's a real tension to it. Camping out in the woods. Pretty fascinating. All right, Shiey. I'll put that up there. Creepy dude, but interesting, especially for character design. Let's write that just up here. So if you guys are interested, you can watch this video. Shiey YouTube. Let's make that visible. All right. Cool. Give praise where praise is due. Look, I might not have a love for train jumpers and drifters, but respect for the work. I can tell this was a lot of work, a lot of hardship to make this video, and I learned something from it. I learned a little bit about what it's like to jump trains, and I'm thankful that you can tell us about that, Shiey, so I don't have to experience that myself. Yeah. So I'm going to bring this composition a little bit. I want to make it a vertical composition. So we're going to put the pole a little closer to him. Maybe he's walking right in front of it. And some of the details on here I just think are neat and specific. So that font, I'm just going to redraw it. Yeah, you can copy and paste it, but I think by drawing it, I'm learning more about what makes it up. It's kind of like eating a meal versus making a meal. If you're into cooking, recreating it engages a different part of your brain, so you learn a little bit more about what makes it up. Drawing from life makes you understand life, I think. It's going to get a little specific here just so it's fun. I think this is cool. It's really cool. So I'm thankful that Shiey made this video so we could all learn from it. Drew, how are you doing today? What's going on in Drew land? Tell me about your world. You working? What you doing? 263. I wonder what that's all about. For those who've watched Chernobyl, this feels very similar to that. I love that show. I think I watched it 3 times. HBO. Very appropriate seeing that show before this pandemic. A lot of parallels with that. Oh shit, we fucked up kind of vibe. Sorry, I forget people have kids when watching my YouTube series. I'm going to try to keep my language better. So this sign is hanging off the right side of the pole, and that's important. It's important to have that specificity. Makes it interesting. And I like how it's not lined up with the pole. It's pretty different. A little bit of a fisheye effect going on. So why am I doing the background first? Just because that way we can spend the rest of the bulk of the broadcast on the character itself. And will people trickle in? 3. Why? What does this mean? Is there anyone who can read Russian who wants to go and translate? I don't even know how to type this in on a keyboard. I don't think I could. I think I'd have to see a digital interface and then like manually click in. Probably some like Google image search thing that I can do. It probably says no drifters on the platform. This video author is saying he got stopped by a security guard at the train station outside of Odessa and had to use Google Translate from his phone to explain what he was doing. And they're like, oh, you're just a bum. Oh, okay. You know, you're not some kind of Chechen terrorist or something. Those Russians did have some problems with that. I mean, oh, wait a minute, this is Ukraine. So they've had some problems with Russian infiltrators. I should rephrase that. And I don't know what part of, I don't know my Ukrainian geography very well, so I don't know if this was, you know, on the occupied Crimea side or what. Yeah, that's some crazy history too. won't go into that too much. I don't know a whole lot about the Ukrainian Revolution / protest movement, but it was wild to see. I just remember that Kanye West music video where it was no church in the wild kind of thing, and then it was re-edited with the footage from the Ukraine protest and just made it so powerful. Kanye, man, I miss when Kanye was normal. The one thing I give Kanye credit for is he's giving attention to world famous artist James Turrell and the crater he did. He made a crater, or actually he took a crater and recarved it and reshaped it and made this beautiful light installation. But not many people have been able to go there and see it. I remember James Turrell came to my college and lectured about the Rodin crater and that project, but it's been too expensive to run and it's too remote to get people there. So if you want to tour and experience that crater, it costs like $10,000. He flies in, gives you a private tour, and whatever. And Kanye shot his movie there. And I'm not much of a church person, but I would watch that video just to see. I think he put some kind of orchestra or choir in the space, in the special room at this crater, and it looks like it's really cool. Kind of low budget film, but artistically interesting, as Kanye does. What's Drew saying? Drew's doing good. Currently making a bit. Day off today. Good. Making a bit. Oh, BLT. Ooh, BLTs are good. Dang, I had a BLT yesterday, but it wasn't very good. I had an Arby's sugar bacon BLT, and it was okay for a few bites. It was okay for a few bites. Do love bacon though. Bacon's great. At this time, like you can use that bacon grease for so much other cooking. I was learning about a German ration from InRange TV that uses bacon grease as a main ingredient. It's kind of a preservative, and that fat, it's just good calorie density, so just use it for all kinds of stuff. Like bacon makes a lot of sense to carry with you in the wild, right? Because you can use that grease to cook other stuff in, like pancakes or eggs, and keep it off a griddle pan. Anyway, that's not bad. That's fun. It's good enough for now. And let's get working on this character. What are you watching on Facebook lately or YouTube? What's cool? Besides my streams, of course. What else are you seeing that's interesting? Good comment. Joe Rogan, I think, was pretty interesting recently. Loved Bert Kreischer, and today's one I was watching is Eric Weinstein, and is a brilliant guy, like IQ of 160 or something crazy. He's a bit more conservative, and I like having an alternative point of view on the media and the news. So most of it's liberal, so I like mixing it up and having both sides. And he's very conservative. He's very angry about how this whole crisis has been handled. And I think that's interesting. What am I going to do? It's got a bit of a bishop kind of look to him. Like I'm thinking the bishop from chess, this shape, that like that shape seems like a chess piece, right? That's interesting. Just kind of massing out the outside, looking at the silhouette. What's the important things? What are the important shapes to really get? And one is this collar area, which is this pronounced bad weather jacket. I think it's interesting how like fashion on skinny people, looks like Japanese street fashion. This kind of feels like that. I don't know what you'd call it, Crimea street fashion, but this guy's got it. I feel like of people I've drawn pictures of, like to homage, like this person would be the least happy that I'm drawing a picture of. So I'm trying to buck the system, man. I don't want honor and praise. I just want to let people know that they can go wherever they want to go. I don't want to be tied down with artwork while I'm making my art. Gotta go fast and light. So the next most important thing, we got the center line. Kind of defines what his torso is doing. But anyway, slim people with baggy clothes I think is really interesting. It makes us bigger guys think that we're gonna look equally good if we buy big baggy clothes. And in fact, we just look like balloons. We just look like zeppelins as we walk around. Man, I thought I'd look cool wearing that backpack and big jacket. Now instead, when I put that coat on, it looks too tight, and that backpack looks tiny. I look like a fat kid in high school, in elementary school. Think about Karl Lagerfeld. Just be skinny. Can't be fat. Well, sorry, man. I'm in America. It's my God-given right to eat Arby's every day. And I'm thinking about lunch. I haven't eaten more than a banana today. I had some coffee. I had some banana, and I think being a little hungry, a little amped is good for art making. It's good to be a little pissed off. Drew says got sucked into watching Big Stacked on YouTube. Melts all types of metal. Sounds cool. Big Stacked. Check that out later. Yesterday I played way too much World of Tanks. Investigating that game, doing research. What are they all about? This game's been out 8 years and still popular. Still advertising. Have you noticed, Drew, how many ads there are for Curiosity Stream or Masterclass? I'm seeing so many Masterclass ads. It makes me want to get Masterclass. They look interesting. They got Gordon Ramsay teaching you how to cook. They got Annie Leibovitz taking you how to take pictures. That's kind of cool. I didn't want to get the camera out and take portraits of my friends. Annie Leibovitz. They got Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about scientific theory, scientific method. It's cool. I might check that out. Probably spend some buku bucks getting those top talented people. Is Masterclass, is that the Oprah thing? Does Oprah own that? She got a share? She got a controlling percentage of Masterclass? I remember hearing about Masterclass first. God, was it 10 years ago? I was hanging out with Jaime and Abby Jacobson, Micah friends of mine. Abby famously on Broad City, Comedy Central. That's this person that works. Abby Jacobson busted her butt. I met her in playwriting class at Micah in 2004, 4. I think it was spring 2004. And that class is where I learned how to journal. We talked about journaling as being part of the assignment. Man, I wish I could remember the name of the teacher who did the playwriting class, but it was a great class. One of the best liberal arts classes I took. We did a little bit of reading, but mostly writing and a little bit of performing. And Abby, you could see like she really gave a shit about, sorry, language. She really cared about what was being said, what was being discussed. I didn't know at the time. She was just an illustration student at the time. I think she was friends with some of my other illustration friends. But I was like, hey, she's taking this drama thing pretty seriously. Yeah. And I had done drama in high school, so I could pretend like I knew what I was doing there. I wrote some silly things. My focus at the time was my internship at Firaxis. But Abby was cool, and I think I probably had a couple conversations with her. I wrote some scandalous stuff in that class. But anyway, this story about where I heard about Masterclass. Jaime was talking about taking a live Masterclass with Oprah, and he was so excited. So excited. And this was in New York. Abby was, at this time, Abby and Alana were doing the web version of Broad City before it got picked up by Amy Poehler. And was it FX or Comedy Central? I think it was Comedy Central that did it. And she was in talks with FX at the time. And I said, hey, you should, that's cool. I actually know Caitlin Olsen from Always Sunny. My sister knows her. Caitlin Olsen, who plays Sweet D in Always Sunny. And I was like, oh, that would be really cool. You should see if I can connect you two. And it never ended up working out. But Abby was like, oh, I love Always Sunny. Sweet D's cool. I'd love to talk to her and be on FX. And maybe it was some agent thing. Maybe she didn't see my email. But I had done some artwork for Mac and Caitlin for their wedding. So my sister knew them and they had to do like invites or something. So I did some artwork for that back in the 2000s. And, yeah, Caitlin's hilarious. She's a great human being. Abby's a great human being too. Wish her all the best. I watched a bit of Broad City and I'm like, holy cow, I knew this person. I had beers at Brewer's Art with Abby Jacobson. Holy cow, before she made it, before she got super famous. That was awesome. I'm so glad to have met her and gotten to share a classroom with her. And hope for all the best for her and Alana and that whole show. It's hard to make shows right now because you can't really get a whole cast together. Who else is here? Anyone else coming on? Anyone else coming in? That's pretty quiet. I'm streaming later thinking I'm going to get more of my California friends in because when I was streaming at like 10, 11 in the morning, A, I wasn't awake all the way, and B, California people like my friend Isaac were saying, hey dude, didn't get to see your stream. Whatever. So I'm learning about folds. In the past, I've talked about these like X folds that you can make in clothing, or like compression shapes, or you have like zigzag, like lightning bolt kind of shapes. I mean, two zigzags together create an X, right? Or you have like a drape fold where something is like there's a knee and you have like a garment that kind of hangs off of that. So that hanging kind of can execute something like that. Gets compressed. So I'm learning about trying to see the logic in the folds here. We have a pinch point where that backpack strap is, oh, I don't want to do that too big. Where that backpack strap is pinching at the armpit, and there's some diagonal lines coming from the source of that armpit crease across the belly and the torso. It seems like there's some stitching in the pocket. So on the right side, there's a subtler version of that, and then the clothes are hanging. The garments is kind of hanging off of the midsection. I like that the reverse arm is mostly in shadow. So that's when it's all shadow and silhouette, it's easier to just mass out and draw. I don't know. I think his backpack has a belt strap that's just kind of hanging in the wind there. So I'm seeing it on the other side as well. I mean, I would think if this kept drawing off, we'd have a backpack belt that's hanging. And I like that there's just a little bit of a hand here. I only have to draw a thumb, which is good by me. I'm already digging this. I'm feeling pretty good. I love gear. I love hiking gear. I don't like camping, but I love all the equipment. I don't like climbing, but I love the harnesses and the clamps and carabiners and stuff. All that stuff's so cool. What's up, B? What's up, B? Brandon, hope you're doing good, dude. Thanks for hopping in. Thanks for hopping in. I feel like it's been a minute. Jeez, just feeling like garbage lately. I need to get out, do some exercise, need some vegetables in my life. Maybe need some family time. I'm going to be hugging so many family members when this is all over. I got cousins be like, Tommy, I barely know you. What's all this hugging about? No, they're going to be doing the same thing. Everyone's going to be hugging like animals. I learned about a word. What was the word I was learning about? It's the chemical that gets released when you hug people in your brain. And that chemical is, drum roll please, oxytocin, the cuddle drug. Thing our body makes during hugging and other things. Connective drug. Builds connection, feelings of connections and trust. Oxytocin. It was interesting. I think I heard about it when I was on my road trip. I was out in Denver, and I think my friend Lauren was telling me about oxytocin. It's why women can get connected to guys that are mean to them, because that physical contact creates a hormone reaction in their body. And it's probably the same with guys too. It's probably all people. You get this hormone chemical reaction to somebody that you're in contact with that's stronger than logic or reason based on how your brain is kind of set up. you know, I'm looking into this character's face a little bit more. I'm studying them. There's a real sense of worry in their expression. His language as he's talking is very confident and angry, but his look is worried. And I didn't notice that until I started drawing. It's amazing how expressive just the eyes are. We have no mouth to go from here. And the eyes are looking up because he's looking away. So we want to give like it just the iris just barely the iris is just barely peeking out from the upper eyelid, and the bottom of the edge of the iris is barely touching the bottom eyelid, your lower eyelid. Painting this will be fun. This will be good. So the look, he's looking at something probably 30, 40 feet in front of him, so the two eyes are converging just a little bit, and it's a very dark shape in there. We have enough to get painting, I think, at this point. I'm going to get a good sip of water in. So to quickly mask out the color, we're going to make sure he is outlined well. You can separate the extra drawings in the background. I'm just going to select those and get rid of them. Let's rope select that area. Rope select this area. We can, I'm just going to make a little mark here and here. I cut that and paste it. It should snap back to where it was. If you mark the corners, that selected area has an index point that it can snap to. Yep. Let's close that extra file down. I'm not seeing my screen update, which is weird. It says it's streaming. Close down some other videos that are in the background because I don't know if it's working. Well, it seems to be uploading on someone else's stream, so hopefully this is still going. Oh, okay, I was just paused on my local review for some reason. Stream is fine, B says. Thanks, dude. Yeah, it looks like I just had tapped on my feedback part from Facebook, so I paused my own feedback. I don't know if this, I bet Twitch is a better interface. I still haven't looked into Twitch yet. Cool. So this layer is going to be background elements. New character. We will now, so this, let's hide that and create a new layer behind. So what we're going to do here is just make the outside of this character solid so that we can rope select it or quickly select it with the magic wand tool and then fill a solid fill color for it. So this is just getting that silhouette banged out. And this is, I'm actually giving him a little bit more space here than before. In the image, it gets cropped before we get to the thigh, but in this drawing here, we're actually getting down to the thigh. That's fine. Just need the outside. This guy's singing some Willy Wonka song right now. Come with me and you'll see a world of pure imagination. No, he's not happy at all. He's dropping F-bombs. He's like, it's cold in the Ukraine. Why did I choose this profession for my life? Profession of jumping trains. Let's prove something. I ought to extend the glory of humanity. We can survive by jumping between trains that other people are driving. see the world for cheap. So story time, now that a couple people are in here. This fellow reminds me a lot of someone I got into fisticuffs with in college. And the video has changed my opinion on him. If this is the same guy, I think his name was Dominicos or something. He was an immigrant or son of an immigrant. And I was hosting a party in college. And lesson one, don't be door security and drunk at the same time. Don't be drinking as your security because you do stupid things. And this guy I knew, Okan, was like Turkish dude, charismatic. It's like, Tom, there's going to be a bunch of ninjas trying to come to the party. Don't let them in. And this was a costume party, by the way. I think it was cowboys and robot zombies are allowed into the party, but no ninjas. So there was a group of ninjas that showed up, and it was like, don't let them in, don't let them in. And I was drunk. So I had my buddy run and get me my paintball gun, which was in my bedroom. And he brought it back. And I didn't put paintballs in it, but I put like just the CO2 on it. So it would be like CO2 coming out of the front of this. This is totally illegal and bad. And people were trying to bust these ninjas were trying to like come in the front door, and I just slammed the door on them like, no ninjas allowed. And they kept banging on the door, and then like I opened it, no ninjas, and the guy tried to like push his way in, and I had my paintball gun and I stuck it out, and this dude like grabbed the paintball gun like he knew what it was and threw it, like pulled it out of my hands and into the street. And it was like, oh shit, it's on. So we like open the door, I come out, guy just starts punching me in the face, and I grab him by the neck. And I got this guy by the neck, and we're going down 4 steps in front of a brownstone. And he's just hitting me right in the face. I can feel my lips start to swell up, but the punches don't hurt. All the punches do is just enrage me, just absolutely enraged. I was in like a post-apocalyptic themed thing. Like I had a gas mask. I had some solar panels that were like taped to my body. I had like a black t-shirt, camo pants. I had a bag with some like party cups and the money in it. So I was taking fives and giving out red Solo cups. We had like a keg of Yingling downstairs. And people are having a good time. There was like 50, 60 people at this party. It was a good old time. 1403 Park Avenue, right next to Micah. This is 2004, 2005, something like that. They're having a good old time. People are raiding the fridge. Someone's stealing my cologne downstairs. I had some Polo cologne. That didn't make it through the party. So I'm getting into fisticuffs with this guy on my steps. We managed to go down 4, 5, 6 steps on the concrete. No one fell over. Like both of us held our footing. I'm getting punched in the face. I got the guy on my left hand by my neck. And in my bag, I had a piece of metal bar. And I don't know if it was part of the costume. Like I got metal pipe because I'm in this like post-apocalyptic themed party. And in the time I'm getting punched in the face. And dude in front of me is like ninja dressed out. And he's got a black bandana on a black hoodie. And that bandana is attached with baby pins. Like it's like a series of baby pins going up the side of the mask. It's like, so he's got a little bit of a mask thing here that's like covering, and he's got these like methed out eyes that are like sunken, like really recessed and dark. And he just has like this look of like rage. Like I thought I was fighting the Foot, from Ninja Turtles, the Foot Clan. That's what I thought this dude was. I thought this was like some member of the Foot Clan that came to mess up with my good time I was having with people at my house. And I'm in such a rage. I got the guy by the neck. He's punching me in the face. And I have this pipe in my hand. I got this metal pipe, and it's coming back, and it's coming back, and it's coming back. And I am getting ready to turn my elbow and swing this arm across and hit him in the side of the head with a metal pipe. As I'm doing that, my buddy Chris comes out and he's like, "Leviticus, what are you doing here?" Like, you recognize the dude by his eyes. Like, because everything else was covered up. So Souls recognizes this dude, and I stop what I'm doing. Dude, both of us look over at Chris, who's big as me. He's a big guy, but like a gentle giant. Like, Chris has never thrown blows in his life. He said, "I don't think so." And I really haven't thrown blows at people either. I got into a couple wrestling matches or something like that, but nothing like. I had played football in high school, so I had the fair share of stuff beaten out of me playing football in Connecticut by some tough inner city kids. But I had never punched anybody before, and I still like. I'm an artist. I'm using these hands. I'm not going to use them as my primary defense of myself. It's going to be elbows. It's going to be my body. It's going to be bigger, tougher, stronger parts. So Souls breaks this fight up, and the dude looks at me, realizes I got a pipe in my arm. And then I look at him, realizing I just got into a fight with somebody. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm going back inside. Sorry with the language. I can't help myself. So I go back into the party. It's like, that was wild. I almost hit a guy with a pipe. And, I actually was mad later that night. I was actually mad at Okan for telling me that there were some people coming to break up the party. Had I not been in that mindset, like, stupid Tom, don't let these people in the party. If I just saw a bunch of ninjas that were like people dressed up as ninjas, and this is art school, like at my party, I'd be like, oh, okay, come on in, $5 a head. Like I probably wouldn't have thought about it. But someone said, don't let these people in. I'm like, okay, right away, sir. He's not his house. He was just at the party. Anyway, it turned into like it's amazing the power of suggestion, right? Because logical me would have been like, sure, come on in. No big deal. Are you a Micah student? Who are you? Who are you 5 people? I don't recognize you. And then the little girl in the group would have raised her hands. It was a group of 5 people. Would have been like, oh yeah, I know you from sophomore illustration class. It was like, oh, okay, I didn't recognize you with the mask across your face. Would have been like, fine. Okay, we got cowboys, ninjas, zombies, and I don't know. Because they might have been confused because we had thrown a ninja pirate party the previous year. So they might have just gotten the memo a year late. It wasn't their fault. Like I bet they were equally pissed off that I threw blows. It must have been surprising to both parties. But anyway, they tried to push their way into the party first before I reacted. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird the sense of entitlement you get. People get at college parties. I did it too. I was very guilty. Very guilty. One of the biggest regrets I have is just my ego in art school. I thought I was the shit. I was a lot bigger than other people, and I think it went to my head. I thought I was awesome. So I remember going to a party once where it wasn't my house. It was someone else's house. I don't think I even knew. I only kind of casually knew the people who were there, like the people who owned the place. Like I was going with someone else who knew someone else who kind of knew the party. And I don't remember if we paid to get in or if we had even brought beer, but I remember opening the fridge. It's not my fridge. I opened someone else's fridge, and the guy leaned into the fridge and kept it closed and gave me a smart look. And I was like, okay. I grabbed the fridge and opened it with enough force that he moved. I opened the door strong enough that it threw him off of the fridge. And he was like, oh, okay. Like I just did this kind of macho alpha man feat of strength thing. And then later, like a couple days later, I'm like, why did I do that? It wasn't my fridge. It wasn't my fridge. Alcohol does weird stuff to people. And I don't get angry to want to go to blows with people if I'm not drinking. So it's kind of weird. Like I think if alcohol is legal, then you got to legalize other stuff too, because we know alcohol leads to fights and drunken driving and bad behavior. I don't know, man. I can see why pirates and ship people got into grog, because if you need to go board an enemy vessel in like 1812, you want to get your people loaded up and fighting strength. You want to give them all the whiskey you got. You got to give them all the grog you have in your store. Come on, let's go, boys. We're going to take that Spanish galleon for England. Let's share the prize. Okay, yeah, let's go. Get our cutlasses out, get our muskets, get our little pistols. Someone's playing a Dropkick Murphy song in the background. Let's go. We're the best. All right, we got that. Let's select him. Oh, I missed a spot. Select him, invert. And we're going to color fill. Let's go. This is the strangest form of confession. I haven't been to church confession in 20 years. And this is like confessing to the internet, confessing to Drew. I know Drew can relate. I know B can relate, right? You all had to throw down every once in a while, right? Someone's trying to step, gotta put them in their place. So anyway, these ninjas come back like an hour later, and my buddy Trevor, who was dressed like a very handsome cowboy, comes out to me where I am in the foyer and says, "Dude, those ninjas came back. They're in the backyard. They had like jumped the fence, and they're in the backyard." Yeah, seriously, B. Yeah, seriously. And they're in the backyard. And so like, geez, we gotta kick these guys out again. So I grabbed my 5 best friends. I think was like Dustin at the time was there, and Trevor and Dana and a bunch of these other guys. B was there. It was a bunch of cowboys, and it's the funniest standoff you'd ever seen. Like, I wish someone filmed this because it's like me in post-apocalyptic robot garb with solar panels, metal pipe, like black t-shirt, camouflage, gas mask. 5 cowboys. Like it really looked like the music video Knights of Sidonia by Muse. This was what it looked like in the backyard of a brownstone house in Baltimore, Maryland, confronting 5 ninjas being like, you gotta leave. Based on what happened before, you all need to go. You need to go. And about that point is when the cops got called. Cops showed up, busted up the party. It was a rager. Like people to this day, like come and find me like, you remember that party? The party was freaking epic. My roommates were dressed up in crazy robot kind of costumes and zombie outfits, and it was, if it wasn't for that fight, like it would have been like the party of my 4 years at Micah. And I learned, a very valuable lesson. Don't drink and be the doorman. Doorman's got to be sober, got to be calm. And don't just have one doorman, have 2 doormen. Have like a committee of intelligent, sober doormen. Former friend of mine I haven't seen in a while, Christian Blakesley, did bouncing down at power plant live, and he told me the stories of how they had to mess up some dudes down there. People get unruly on alcohol, out of hand. Let's start painting this guy. Lock transparency layer. Let's pick the color. What do we got? It's a dark kind of red on one side. Let's try this. Let's go red on one side, warm red on that side, and then a bluish, little bluer on the other side. Kind of funny. He's like fighting the law, but kind of has some of those law colors, like the red and blue, like red demon, blue demon, kind of hanging out. And he's got the blue guy here, and he's got the red guy or orange guy over here. Might do a couple demons, draw those guys in later. So we had to escort these guys out, and I assume they called the cops. It might have been the neighbor that called the cops from the fight earlier. It's probably more likely. But cops show up, break the party up. Everyone goes home by like 12:30. It was fine. It was fine. I felt terrible. And then later that night at like 2 in the morning, smash! 40-ounce bottle comes through my bedroom window and broke the outside. There was a double layer of glass, broke the outside, shatter. It must have been, you know what? It was probably like 4 a.m. because I got up in my skivvies, like t-shirt and gym shorts and sneakers without socks, and went outside to go figure out where that asshole was. Left my keys inside my apartment, locked myself out at like 4:30 in the morning in Baltimore in, I don't know, April, early April, probably about right now. But mornings are still cold. It was like 55 degrees outside. I was like, F me. I'm stuck outside. Dude's nowhere to be found. My window's broken, and I'm locked outside with just some gym shorts, sneakers, and no socks, and a cut t-shirt. A t-shirt missing its sleeves. So I ran around the block a couple times. I think that's when I learned I needed to, running helps me get rid of rage. Exercise helps get the rage out. Learned a lot of things that night. So crazy, dude. I'm thankful for you being in my life and teaching me some lessons back in the day. I'm glad I didn't kill you with a lead pipe. And if this is the same person who's riding trains in the Ukraine, I am thankful that you are making interesting videos. Maybe you turned that life of drifting, pissing people off, into some kind of career where you are now entertaining the masses by doing sketchy stuff. And that's okay. We all got to make a living somehow. Good good stuff. But dude came back. He kept coming back to my house and throwing bottles through my window every month that spring. April, May, June, July. My mom was visiting one time when it happened. Bottle comes through my window. Like, me and my friends are in the living room. My mom's asleep in my bedroom, and he was like, "Tommy, I think someone just threw a bottle into your window." She was terrified. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And then when we moved out that summer, the next set of people that moved in, I knew them. They're friends of ours that took our apartment. I think it happened once to them. I think one time they got a bottle through that same window, and we just kept having to repair it, repair it. This dude had come back like 4 times every month and threw bottles through our windows. That's some savagery. That's like psycho. Psycho. Guy's trying to be like divine punishment for us not letting him into a party. Yeah, crazy people, man. So when like folks are like, "Tom, why do why are you so scared of people? Why are you into defensive measures for you? Why are you always worried about folk?" It's like, because I've been punched in the face by random drifters. So I've gotten into fight with people who I had no quarrel with. Did I handle it as well as I could have? Could I have been de-escalating instead of escalating? Sure, yeah, could have. And like, that's a really good lesson that I now appreciate today. That anytime you can de-escalate, it's always going to be better. It's always going to be better, because the effect of, like, if let's say I didn't have a stronger jaw and this guy knocked me out on my porch steps. I've got a few concussions. If I fell backwards because he hits me in the face and I lose my balance, or say I black out and I hit my head, not only do I have traumatic brain injury from being knocked out, I got double traumatic brain injury from falling on the concrete and hitting my head. I wasn't wearing a helmet at the time. Gas mask was in the face. It could have been really, really bad. I have, on top of all the other concussions I have from football and sailing and other such stuff. So it wouldn't have been good for me. Or what happens if I hit him? Let's say souls didn't come out at that moment while I'm swinging a metal pipe. I would have cracked this guy's head open. I could have had a bleeding victim who's in a coma, or worse, a vegetable the rest of his life, and then I'd be going to jail. I'd be getting arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, and I wouldn't have the life I have. I wouldn't have my house. I'd be sitting in a jail cell getting COVID right now for basically naming a dude. I mean, maybe it could have pleaded self-defense. He was punching me in the face. But then they'd be like, "Well, why did you have a lead pipe in your pocket? It looked like you were getting ready to start some shit with somebody." And the defense, the prosecution would have been like, "Dude, you were itching for a fight. Look at your outfit that you're wearing that night. Look at the gear you were carrying that night." I was in theme for a costume party, man. But you never know. I know the home defender people say, like, they argue would rather be juried by 12 instead of carried by 6. I think there's some validity to that phrase too. I'd rather see a courtroom than be dead in a lethal encounter. If there's some kind of burglar coming into my house with a weapon, you don't know whether they're going to use it or not. You don't know their mental state. So you'd rather defend yourself and then go to court and argue than the alternative to that. But better than both, don't get into a fight in the first place. If you have enough deterrence to keep people away from you, then maybe that's enough. Maybe that's worth it. Maybe all the deterrence in the world is worth not getting into a fight. And that's what I think I like Teddy Roosevelt's theory of military power the best. He walked softly carrying a big stick. Now, he did get involved in the Spanish War and in Cuba. His Rough Riders went down there and did some fighting. And maybe the small conflict is necessary to show how strong that stick is that you carry. Maybe there's something to that. Like, maybe the United States did some fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq, and it reminded the world like how big our stick is. Now, I don't think we needed to go into Iraq again in 2000, but that's just my opinion. It can change. My opinion can change. But because we did such a good job in 91, like, we just didn't finish the job in 1991. In 1991, if we had deposed Saddam in 1991, I don't think any of that would have been a problem. It was probably would have, should have, could have, would have, should have happened. But we just dominated the entire Iraqi military in 3 days after a 6-month air campaign that the whole rest of the world like stood up and took attention. Oh, that big 4 acquisition the United States government made in 1985 for the end of the Cold War, that actually works. All that works really, really well. And no one wanted to mess with the U.S. for a good 10 years until 2001, when Bin Laden thought it would be a good idea to fly some planes into the trade towers. And then we had to go, lay a smack down in Afghanistan. And go find that punk ass in Afghanistan and light him up. So don't mess with the U.S., right? COVID, don't mess with us, man. It's going to hurt, but we're going to come back from it. So I think Teddy Roosevelt had a point. Like, let's have you walk softly, carry a big stick. Don't make a fuss, but have a deterrent. So he built the Great White Fleet of dreadnought era warships and just sailed it around the world, kind of flashing like, hey, missions of peace, but showing the teeth we had, the kind of big stick kind of thing. And for a little while, I think it worked. No one messed with the U.S. for a while. And things were kind of honky-dory. And then he got involved in World War I. We helped bring a swifter end to that by joining late in the war and helping to push. Also by bringing probably 1918 Spanish flu, which was actually probably found in America first, America or China. And the third theory I heard I kind of like is that Chinese immigrants came over to work on the railroad in the gold rush. And they brought some stuff with them that mixed with stuff that we had in the U.S. and it developed in the camps, in the U.S. training camps where troops from all over the country had assembled to train to go over to France. And then it spread over to Europe, and then the rest of Europe got it. But it also got to India and China and all of these other places all over the world. And it killed millions in those places too. I think India had like 40 million dead from Spanish flu. It's like 40 million dead. It's just like a number. Like, it's just a statistic. Like, you can't even process what that means. I gotta pan over these eyes because it looks like he's looking at us right now. I kind of want him looking out over the distance. I want to get the real sense of what's going on. I'm liking where this is going though. This drawing's been kind of interesting while I'm telling the story. So I'm just picking colors. This is a little yellower up here. So yellow, right? Drew, sounds like a good time. Quite the story. Yeah. Glad it's behind me. Don't want to do that ever again. Don't want to ever do that again, man. It's people talk about getting into fights and like on UFC, it's cool. I like watching Bloodsport, man. I love watching some Joe Rogan commentated NFC. That's football. Some UFC combat sports stuff. Man, I love it. Love watching it. I thought it was stupid when I was younger. I'm like, oh, these people are just giving each other brain injury, but I don't know. I think it's like a necessary pressure release valve for civilization. I think there's like this natural order. I don't know what you want to call it, because there's always going to be a certain amount of the population that wants to bring it to blows. They got too much energy in them, and there's a certain part in the rest of the population that kind of likes watching it. I'm just saying we're not all that different than the Roman mob 2,000 years ago. Biologically, mentally, I don't think we're that much different. We know more, but I think some of the same things that Caesar did to appease the mob back then is similar to what we do today. That's why the Greek philosophers still make sense. That's why that Sophocles wrote about back in the day still kind of works. So this is interesting. I'm having fun. I like that it's a dark jacket, but clearly there's warm colors, or clearly there are cool colors. And I'm exaggerating it a bit. I'm making it a bit more saturation to really expose what it's about. Let's go a little darker as we go down. A little more darkness at the bottom. Gives it that gradient from bottom to top, draws the eyes back up to where you want them to go, which is to the face. UFC and steak night when this COVID is gone. True. Will happen. I will bring the mini grill. We will light up the mini grill and make some steaks. Man, I'm getting so hungry right now. So now that we have this generally painted, I want to paint over some of the line work here and get into the face and make the face better. So I'm gonna merge these two layers after I save it. It's called drifter painting. What did I just do? I saved. Let's paint over this line work and fix the eyes first of all. Get those looking in the right direction. So just a little line there changes the direction of the eye. Little line there, it's just all the little subtle things. Zoom right in. We have a little bit of a highlight. Looks like where there's some water, water or like droplets kind of collecting in the bottom of the eyeball where it meets the eyelid. There's a little bit of a collection there. We're going to go a little pink underneath that. And then we have a dark, shadowy, and this very thin person who's been outside for several days is going to have that recessed, kind of sunken in eye look, as their hydration is probably pretty low. I once dated somebody who hated drinking water, and their eyes were always like dark and recessed, and looked like gothy. Just gotta drink some, gotta keep fluid, man. Gotta keep fluid in your body. So I think New Yorkers, man, it's that look of every New Yorker I've ever met. They have like the dark rings around their eyes. They're all drinking too much coffee, not getting enough sleep, not drinking enough water. Even though I think New York water is pretty good. I was to take a major metropolitan place and pick it based on the quality of their water, probably New York. Baltimore ain't bad, but New York's better. Just look at the pizza, you got all kinds of global food. I don't miss how my skin feels after I leave New York. I just feel so dirty after I leave that city. I just need a shower immediately. Immediately. Gotta wash all that subway crud off. The street pollution. I mean, I love a New York hot dog, but it's kind of like that smell is just like in the air and it sticks to you as you walk around. I'm more of a fresh air kind of country person who likes to visit the city occasionally, a couple times a year. I go to Baltimore like once a month. Baltimore, if you look at Baltimore from an airplane, though, it's pretty woodsy. Like just outside the city, it's all trees, all trees. Unlike a place like Houston or somewhere where it's the desert. Tucson. I did like Tucson, Arizona, but not a whole lot of green stuff there. More green stuff than I expected. More cactuses and desert bush and farmland than I expected for the middle of the Arizona desert, but still not like the Northeast, man, or even the Midwest. Trees are a bit shorter as you go to the Midwest. A little bigger trees here. Biggest trees, Pacific Northwest. Redwood Forest was amazing. I didn't quite getting that color right on his cheek. I want it to be a little cooler on that side too, so I might punch up the saturation and warmth on the right side where the sunset's coming in. Just punch that up a little bit more and come a little cooler. Would purple make sense? What if I did a little purple just for fun here? Is that cool? Is that interesting? Oh, purple in there. It's not bad. It's not bad. Not ideal. Maybe a bluish thing will work a little better. Yeah. Lightly mixing that color. Yeah, it's too bright now. Bring it down a little bit. Knock it down. It's cool. So we'll emphasize the cloth a little bit. I'm seeing very subtly a fold there. Here's the top edge. There's a little bit of a hollow under the nose where it gets dimmer just by a little bit. and then there's like a highlight in the middle area, probably where the mouth's been talking. It's blowing air into a pocket, and then there's a little bit of a compression fold underneath, and then the garment is hanging underneath. This comes over, maybe a little bit of bounce light. I think there might be another fold. I'm not sure if he's wearing, it looks like one of those big collar neck things that he just pulls up, so it's gathered around the sides and the neck. So let's imagine, I think I can see a compression line here, and that looks good. Little spring coil. It's real subtle in the screenshot, but sometimes those subtleties really make the form work. It is a little bit of a hot, just a little lighter on the upper eyelid on the outside there. A little concerned, worried look. There's just a little break, a little creasing between the eyebrows. I think that makes it interesting. A little bit of worry is very interesting. So let's give him some eye color. Let's just keep with the brown theme. And when you're scared, your pupils will dilate. When you're in love with something, they'll get bigger. When you're scared of something, they might get a little smaller because they want the focus, they want the sharpness. When you're in love with something, you want more color. You want to see if the person's got flushed cheeks and if they look healthy or not. If you're scared of something, you want movement and sharpness. So you bring that, the f-stop of your eyeball gets narrower, so you have a sharper field of view. That's why the dilation is bigger and smaller. B says you can burn my deck. A little funny story. Brandon's mentioning, or hiding back to a time when I brought my little mini stove over to another friend's house and forgot to extend the legs on the bottom of this Weber grill, and so we just set the grill. I set the grill on the deck and was cooking, and it was starting to heat up the deck underneath. Like halfway through cooking burgers, we're like, man, it's a little smokier than I would have expected. Oh shoot, the deck's on fire! Burned a little hole. Oh geez, I felt pretty bad about that. Half awake and hungover from having revelries the night before, trying to cook burgers for breakfast, and just almost set a deck on fire. Good times. Sorry, Emmett. My bad. I offered to pay for the repair. I think we just ended up putting a flower pot over that burnt spot instead. So this is a little too big. I'm going to take the eraser out and trim this down to get the silhouette correct. So I'm seeing it's different than the way I had drawn it. And then the hat comes all the way around. It's actually getting a little bit of green. I think it's picking up some of the grass that would be in the background. So just hit a little green there just for fun. And then we'll shade this part down too. That feels pretty good. I'm digging how this is coming out. I like the blue and the warm. I like his pose. Let's shade the hand a little bit. So there's a warm highlight side on the hand. There's a warm highlight side of the pole. Looks like he's wrapped up the bottom of this pole with some cloth or tape, maybe baseball bat tape. Not really sure. It's cool though. And then it gets to be the cool highlight on the round part of the hand and the wrist. And then it's warm at the edge of the coat. It's a little dirty, sandy, like he's been crawling around in the back of coal trains and stuff. He's going to have some dust and dirt and debris that are on the edges of the folds too. So sometimes you get like an extra highlight on those folds that's not just from light, but from actual debris and soot and junk. So we can just put a little bit of those marks, you know, on the edge. Maybe he was like lying down in some of that coal dust, something. Some pollution in the air has come and settled on his gear. I mean, he's been by the fire, been by an open fire outside, and there's going to be some ash that's come up and settled back down on his equipment. Pretty cool. I think his belt back here actually folds over, so it comes out and then creases over and folds down. Something like that. If you understand what the garment's doing, it's more likely going to be compelling. You can draw it in a way that makes more sense. A little purple in there is actually pretty fun. Might do that up a little bit. What might be fun, Brandon, is to find an older fight that none of us have seen, and then queue it up on our local computers and stream that. We can all hang out at our homes and watch something kind of remote at the same time. Savannah tuned in and reacted to this. Thanks, Savannah, for checking it out. Drawing this Drifter guy. So thank you, Drifter Man, for punching me in the face and getting me the heck out of Baltimore. After getting punched in the face in Baltimore, I really didn't want to be in Baltimore anymore. So that's why I live in Pennsylvania. That's why I bought a house 30 miles north in the clean air, in the no face punching zone, over the border. Don't like getting hit in the face. All right, let's check out the background. Let's see how that looks now. Fill that in real quick and call this a wrap. Let's zoom out there. So we're going to quickly glaze in some colors. Finish this illustration out here. And we'll just pick the color to make it go fast. Let's pick this like dark brown. Shade that sign. Pick this. That's cool. The color of that sign goes from a blue to a pink. How wild's that? That's pretty cool. Blue to pink with a blend in between. That's neat. It's got a little gray border to it. I'm just going to pick these colors and paint them quick just to wrap this thing up fast. And we're going to pick the middle brown there. Paint that across. What's that color on the right? Pick that. It's a little warmer. That's cool. So we're just going to stylize and simplify this thing. Pick that middle color of that sign. So you see how it gets warmer and brighter on the right and cooler, grayer on the left. So this is a good way to learn. Just pick the colors and draw them down and see them in a different context. When you can see that color solid off of the edge, it has a really different feel to it. So like this shadow side, brown, something like that there. There's a black stripe. Cool, cool. That color gets grayer, less saturated, a little greener, in fact. There, shadow bits. It's cool. Put a couple marks. Looks like something was taped or stuck to this pole at some point. Fun. What kind of green? It's kind of brownish green kind of mess there. So we're adjusting this silhouette here of everything just for the composition. And the location of the tree and the pole are swapping places here because I want them to. That's all I gotta say. I want them to be different. There we go. That's good. Let's incorporate symmetry over here. That's fine. Oh, nah, that's stupid. Let's do that. It's a little lighter, kind of like a white halo-y kind of part up there. And a little white kind of idea. These are like a thought bubble over his head right now. What am I doing? A little pinker clouds in the background. That's cool. What's that color? Pick that. What's that color? It's actually more saturated than I thought. Very light, very blue. And over here is darker, but still lighter than I had painted, which is interesting. What did I just do? B, brush, let's airbrush it. Brush that, airbrush that, airbrush that, airbrush that a little bit. Get that a bit. Let's get some of the track colors in. I'm going to merge the background line drawing with background painting. So we have a darker ground kind of dirt color. And then the tile is brighter than that. I'm just going to paint a couple in to suggest, I'm going to crank it up just a little bit brighter. Just make a suggestion of this tiling pattern. I have to do just a few. And then the coping. Coping is even the right word, not really sure. And the perspective no longer makes sense, so we're just going to paint over this whole thing and paint it in a way that it does make sense. Seems like the track goes down that way. And then there's a dark brown here. All converging lines in the distance, and a very brown grass, kind of a dead grass kind of thing going on into the distance. And it becomes pinker and lighter as it kind of goes off, because we're not really seeing the blades of grass anymore. We're just seeing the dirt be reflective of that sunlight that's coming in, that setting sun situation. So we get some lines, just kind of lightly paint. It's fun. Just a couple. Yeah, no, something like that. It's kind of cool. A little fuzzy tops of the trees. We got a pretty bright water tower in the background. Bright on one side, dark on the other. A little too dark, because if it's too dark, it doesn't feel like there's atmosphere between here and there. So it's going to paint back some atmosphere back in, get rid of any contrast. So painting over it. Looks like there's like a reddish part of the standing area. Coping, edging stuff, and then another dark area. Another dark. And then the train line itself. A lot of converging lines here. Brown off the coping, darker, redder, brown off there, mostly brown here, like a dark brown. If I was to average the railroad ties and the rusty side of the track together, the rusty track is red, shiny track is that cool purple, the top of the track itself, something like that. And then there's going to be like intervals of lighter color, it looks like, in between the ties, and darker purple across, lining up with the gaps, like that, I think. Something like that. How does that feel? Is that starting to feel like it? I think it does. And the closer one, it's going to be thicker at the bottom, thinner as it goes away from us, with that rusty lit color up, and then darker brown gaps between the ties. Shrinking the brush size as we get further away, increasing the brush size as we get closer to give us some perspective, some little help. And that shadow kind of works its way up onto the, not really a shadow, it's probably the rusted area around where the bolts and screws and locks hold the track down to the concrete or wooden railroad ties. It's a little darker, like there's like a darker edge to the platform coping, and then that's going to start to get dirtier and darker as it gets away from us. This telephone pole, power line pole, is a lot lighter and not as contrasty, so we're just going to paint over that a little bit. One behind it, just going to quickly glaze in some detail, very thin, very slight, so just painting over with the ambient colors to hide that up. Man, I am getting so hungry. Just like Mr. Drifter, Shiey YouTube guy. It's like he's wanting some of those rations, some like Georgian military bacon fat rations right now. He's thinking about being warm and maybe charging a cell phone. Let's get a little detail of this clip right here. So let's go back to him. Like this little clip. It's a cooler color. Maybe it's a little greenish, teal. Sometimes those little details are nice just to get in there. Cool, cool, cool. I'm trying to approach this pandemic from a point of gratefulness. I'm grateful for what I had before, the relationships I had, the friends I had made, the food I've experienced, things in the past. Maybe they're going to be gone. So just like a eulogy. I think most things will come back, but it's just like sometimes old people leave us and we have a eulogy and a remembrance and a wake for them. Now everyone's going through the grief of losing the world we had before and coming to terms with the new world we have, and we all have to persevere and push ahead in whatever way we can, whatever way works for us individually. I like working a little bit of purple against this blue just to make it vibrate a little bit more. Fun. A couple highlights. Trying to identify where the highest highlight are and where we want the eyeball to go. Use contrast, color. One more highlight on that eyelid. Maybe a little more blend here. A little redder, a little warmer in the dark cavity by the eye. This isn't as contrasty below the eyelid, so I soften that up right there. This is going to get a little brighter. Clean all that stuff up just a little bit. A little noise, a little visual noise to it. I think we can call this just about a wrap. This is fun. Thanks for hanging out with me today, getting me to draw, getting me to be productive on a Tuesday. Just shade that in, just make it a little darker. It's fine. Good vignette. Let's fill this color in over here. It's going to be some kind of that, and then this is some kind of that, kind of greens and whatever's. Who cares? Just the edge. Maybe just some grass back there. He's on the grassy part of the walkway here. Build darkness. Build like scratches and stuff. And then paint over. Let's erase this bit. And make this a bit darker there. That was fun. Thanks for all that you do for the people around you every day. This is good enough for me. I'm done with that. I think that was good. We're more productive than we usually would have been otherwise. Usually I flip the canvas. Probably a good time at the end of the broadcast to do that, see how it works. Flip horizontal. Little self-critique. I probably would have left more space, looking back on this now, between him and the pole. I'm gonna given him a little bit more space to frame that out, and then add something on the right side to like frame it a little bit more. This actually might have been a better composition if he was just on the right and the pole was on the left. But I'm fine with it for now. Like, kind of fine with it for now. But I'm visualizing what it would look like compositionally. If, let's say like I clone this whole image, clone it, paste it. If I was to take all of him, let's just see this really quick. So it'll be quick. Loop select just him. Bring him over there, so he's kind of lining up with that edge. And then painting in like the rest of the train station. We've got two of these drifters now. Compositionally, is this more interesting? Maybe. Maybe. So that'd be something that you would decide if you were, if I was to redo this again, would I think about posing him this way? He's got the train tracks behind. Well, probably not, because we're not seeing the tracks. I think the original composition with the photograph that he took is probably the best. It's got it's kind of a fulcrum. There's darker things on the right, but there's this longer, wider expanse on the left. I think that's pretty good, pretty powerful. And for the illustration, does that work as well? I don't know. Image rotation, horizontal. I wanted to just do a vertical piece today. See, this doesn't feel good to me. Flip this direction. This feels very unbalanced to me here, whereas this feels a little bit better. Maybe we just meet him somewhere halfway. Like, can we select him and move him over just a little bit? Maybe like that way. So Photoshop is snapping him to the middle of the canvas here. Maybe that's what it needs to be. So put that there, continue this little line work. Maybe that's what makes the most sense. Yeah, that's what makes the most sense there. Pretty cool. That was fun, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm going to wrap it up and get myself some food. Let me see if there's any more comments. That seems to be it. Low turnout today, but glad the few of you that are here and watching. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. And by the way, tonight, Fish is doing another live stream of one of their older concerts. Not conferences, concerts. They're playing one of their older concerts live. A bunch of Phish fans are going to tune in, listen to that, eat some food, listen to some jams, have a good time. Take care.